Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. I am Brandon Alvarado, the Scarlet fan here, and I'm so excited to be here tonight with y'all to talk some Attack on Titan. The final season, new episode tonight, Sunday, January 30th, 2022. So excited. Only 9 episodes left in the season. Actually, after today, only 8 episodes left. There's so much to talk about, so much to spoil, and so much to talk in a crazy matter. But of course, I'm not doing this by myself. I'm doing this with the two great guys, the awesome amateur talker crew. Of course, the one and only Mike Ackerman, the Nova Cinephile. What's up, man?
Time is an illusion, Brandon. Uh, my mind is still blown, dude.
I mean, at least we can understand it more than Tenet. And
Ooh,
and yes, we're gonna start early. And the one and only the pun is your Titan, which for some reason I don't find it fun anymore, but very smart, Isak Wolff.
Puns.
Do you imagine? Do you imagine? You know how like very few Titans can actually talk? Do you imagine if Isaac's Titan form is just him running around just screaming puns at people? You know, like how Bumblebee couldn't talk but had like all the different songs on the radio station?
that would be awful, honestly. That would make him the worst Titan.
I mean, if someone tries to steal my freedom away from me, damn it, Perp, you gotta take it slow, man. You're just and of course, shout out to our good friend Perp Minded. Thank you for joining us. But man, you're not pulling punches tonight, bro.
For our anime only listeners, I just want to point out you see the beautiful background art we have here. Um, you finally understand that these are all fragments, right? These are all memories of Eren
Yep.
Yeager. And it finally makes sense now. There you go.
Well, the interesting thing about all that is that they're not necessarily that was yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know what's funny? If Aaron would be rapping, he'd be rapping that 100%. So, but it's funny that you say that about the fragments because it's not just his fragments.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about lineage. It's all about generation. And interestingly enough, it's not about generation in a familial sense, but generation in a chosen kind of sense, or more of a generation in terms of people. It's just very, 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 very interesting. There's a lot to talk about, guys. This episode was just crazy. I mean, we all knew it was going to be crazy, but this is one of those episodes that I have to say it didn't elevate the material. It did. I think it achieved so much that the manga couldn't. Like there's certain ideas and things that the manga kind of felt short because it was textual explanation, but there was so much. Yes, it does, perp, and it does something so many things very interesting that I think I felt that I'm learning from all this at the same for the first time. But yeah, guys, I think we have to jump in, talk about this episode. There's so much stuff in it that's amazing. Yes. Um, and if you guys love what we do here at the Amateur Talker Podcast, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, click that like button, and make sure you click on the bell for notifications so you do not miss any streams and any episodes and anything that we cover. Every Sunday until the season is over, we're going to be covering Attack on Titan. And of course, once the season is over, we're going to do a full series recap to talk about our thoughts and how we feel about the entirety of Isayama's work. Probably both manga and anime, since it's all going to be free to spoil to a degree. But yeah, stay tuned for that. We cover My Hero Academia manga, also the Carlin Vigilantes. Isaac and I do crazy movies and series that we find. We have other crazy stuff that we're going to be covering this week. Last week, we covered Made in Abyss. We got caught up with Demon Slayer, Entertainment District Arc. So there's a lot of stuff going weekly on the Amateur Otaku YouTube channel.
And
And
next
if you
week
like,
we're finally doing Ninja Resurrection commentary.
and that's why I don't have friends. And but if you love to listen to us on our podcast channel, I do have to agree. It's kind of my fault that it's been a little put to the wayside because we're putting a lot of our strength and focus on growing the YouTube channel. But don't worry, there's going to be a nice big overhaul to our podcast channel. We're going to update a lot of things and put a lot of episodes there. So if you like to listen to us in the podcast form, we are available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Stitcher, wherever, Spotify, wherever podcasts are found, you can find us. And keep an eye out for this week because we are going to update a lot of the episodes there. But yeah, guys, we're here to talk Attack on Titan. Chapter, the correct term is not episode. The correct term is chapter 79 of the anime, which is called Memories of the Future. Guys, I was blown away. If it wasn't because I had to leave my job and probably start working to get the stream started, I was going to watch it again because there is so much that happens in this episode, and everything is good. Again, execution and direction is on point. It's not a episode. It's an episode that's all exposition, but it is also so powerful and intriguing, right? I was blown away. I think to me, this is one of it's. I think this is one of the most strongest episodes right now because it doesn't need the spectacle to keep it running. Not that the spectacle episodes needed it because the story itself has been phenomenal, but this one had practically no spectacle, and the spectacle was literally, one could say, the voice acting and the scenes and the directing, and it's just a tour de force, guys. That's how I felt. Mike, Isaac, how did you guys feel about this?
My head hurts. I'm going like there's just.
Are you sure is that really how you feel, or is that you embracing your inner Ackerman?
A bit of both. I'm glad you caught on to that. But, no, like I'm getting these massive headaches, dude. Like this happened when I read the thing and watching this episode. I'm still just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they went through with that with Eren, Zeke, and Grisha, and it's just like, bro, I'm still at like I've known this for over a year now, and I'm still at a loss for words. Like just introducing the concept of like Eren being able to influence the past is just crazy to me. Especially like you said, this is chapter 79 of the story. But it makes sense. That's the thing that blows my mind. It's not like a Deus Ex Machina. It's not like lazy writing. Pardon my dog. She just ran into my room making a ton of noise. But anyway, it's just crazy to me how they managed to pull that off. And like you said, it's exposition for 22 minutes, essentially. But they managed to make it interesting. And yeah, 20 minutes. A lot of information, perp. Like the way that they make that work is incredible. Because if this was a movie and we spent 20 minutes just basically in flashback mode, it wouldn't work. But for some reason, Attack on Titan is just so captivating in that sense, and it makes you really frustrated because, like you said earlier in the comments, perp, of this episode felt like it was 10 minutes. Where's the other half of this episode? You know, like I can't wait to see what happens next week.
Isaac, what are your thoughts?
My first thought was, well, also I would love to hear some anime only fans' reaction towards this. Two, I know that this is going to sound controversial, but I feel that Attack on Titans is probably one of the few media stories in general, not just anime and manga, that actually make time traveling works, even if because it's so subtle. It's not just we can move backwards, forward, yada yada yada. It's like Mike said. It feels like it works. It like yesterday, it was an excellent directed episode that just flew by, so to speak, and also I have to say, with this genius when it comes to cliffhangers, I have to say that
It makes you want to come back for more, doesn't it? Like every single time it gets me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's very interesting also, good thing is that for us manga readers that we've read the manga, I like the fact that none of the cliffhangers are the same. Um,
Mhm.
like they understand that it's not about just doing a simple interpretation or adaptation. It's about making it work within the medium and how to maximize the efficiency of the story within the medium. And they do such a great job at it that it's just powerful. Also, not just the cliffhanger thing, Isaac. Um, this this episode pulled an Infinity War. It started running out of nowhere. Like we were caught up in the episode mid-run. You know what I mean? Like it was Captain America and we were Sam and just seeing him saying on your left. You know what I mean? It like this episode was Captain America in that scene. I mean, yes, we knew it was going to start picking up where it left off, but it's like if you thought that you were at the same pace, no. You're not running at your pace. You're running at the episode's pace. And then it just takes you through all those moments and it's just magical. There's such stuff. I love the episode. So I'm gonna say this, and fans of the show know that this is true. So before I say anything, I have like three. Oh, can we? Yes, 100% agreed. Because this episode was all voice acting, and it was just so great. Because think about it, it was all three characters. That's it. It's
Yeah.
all centered on three characters. The animators expressing that, and talk about the animators working to create characters that convey the text.
I mean, yeah, just think of the shots of like Aaron's face
Yeah.
and like the
Yeah.
detail and the anger you see on his face during some of these moments. And I'm just like, don't get me wrong, I love me the Titans fighting against each other.
Mhm.
That might be some of the best work that they've done on this show.
Yes.
And it's just still frames half the time, him just standing there. But it's
Yeah.
like the detail, you feel what Aaron's feeling in that moment.
Yeah, and it's also the visualization. Like I don't know if this is. I don't think this is the same term that we would use for animation, but I gotta say the cinematography, the shots. There's so many shots here that are just phenomenal, especially when you take in
You
consideration.
use cinematography here in animation too.
Yeah, so the cinema. So thank you. So it's like the shots here are just perfect, and they flow, and it feels like it. Yes, and that's how, yes, perp, and that's how you know you have a phenomenal show, right? That you know that it's not just about the spectacle. There's so much deeper and so much richer. But like I was saying, I got like 3 pages of notes. I'm not expecting to go through everything because there's a lot of stuff that I just thought about as I was analyzing the episode. So guys, please stop me. Like literally break, be colossal and just put a stop to whatever I say. So this is literally the second part of the last episode, right? Because it's literally about the two brothers and about their relationship and about their understandings of each other. And I think this is the first time that we've ever actually seen them have a real conversation. You know what I mean? Like we've seen like the little flashbacks of them kind of like quote unquote planning everything against Marley and whatever, right? But
Yeah, like Aaron's been lying this entire time. So yeah.
Right. This is the first time that they have a real conversation, right? And I like the idea of, and I think this is on purpose. I like the idea of Zeke being a Jesus figure or seeing himself as a Jesus figure. Hence, also the way that he's drawn to look like Jesus in the pathways. I think that's very intentional. And the idea that his idea or his plan for his people is what's best and how he's convinced about that. And that whole dialogue of him thinking that Aaron's been brainwashed by his father and that it is his job to convince him otherwise. But then the truth comes out that it really is Zeke, the one that's been brainwashed. Did you guys catch that?
I not as you writing books over there, Brandon. So you have a lot more notes than I do, but I totally get where you're coming from there. It's just really interesting because like you can also look at it as, on one hand, like especially with the way Grisha's pleading with Zeke at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
You can also see that like, is Zeke now the hero of this story?
Yep.
Like you can make a case for that.
Or at least that's the idea. And that's the whole thing that I love, that this show has always been about many things, but I like how as it gears towards the final curtain, right? Perp. Yes, I think we all love that. We all love that. Or at least the fact that Zeke thinks that because he's the older brother, maybe. Because he's blinded by his responsibility or what he's been through, he thinks that he can fool Eren, right? But as they approach the final curtain, how they've taken a time to talk about ideas and also explore the power of ideas. Because the whole thing with Zeke is that he's convinced that his plan will save Eldia. And he is the only one that can save Eldia this way. But when you think about it, the whole thing about the whole Jesus metaphor or whatever, right? He's actually sacrificing everyone's choice. And that's why Eren cannot be with Zeke, because Zeke is sacrificing freedom to make his idea or plan happen. And I like how Perp dropped it first thing. He dropped it first thing as soon as this episode started. When Eren makes this comment, and he talks up, and by the way, this happens when he's a child. This is what 7-year-old Eren saying this. Like, this kid is saying, before someone tries to steal my freedom, my ability to choose, my ability to be my own person, before someone does that, I'm going to stop that person and I'm going to take their freedom away. And I like how he doesn't say it like he thinks he's better. He's saying, you're not going to steal what is rightfully mine. And when you think about it and you compare, and this show is, and this particular episode is thought about dichotomies, is the idea of Zeke and Eren being dichotomies. They're both, there's a little bit about that. There's a little bit about that. Or that type of, they're making them like the legendary brothers that talk about the world, right? And it's the idea that Zeke has been driven to do things all his life. He was driven to infiltrate the Marlians. He was driven to turn in his parents. He was driven to be like to do X, Y, Z. Then he was driven by Kasaver or his vision to prevent anyone to be able to reproduce, right? But everything has never been Zeke's idea. It's always been other people's ideas, which is one of the things that I love about, I think we talked about it. Isaac, you remember when we covered Fully Cooley, and Mike, I can talk about this because I know you've seen it. But anybody that's seen Fully Cooley, one of the main characters of that is Conti. And Conti is this android with a face that's a television. And one of the things that I always loved about Conti is that he is the symbol of someone brainwashed. Why? Because a TV does not create its own reception or vision. It's only receiving signals from other people. So it's like, it is the idea that everybody else is receiving or operating as a reaction to other people, but Eren is the only one that will not sacrifice his agency. And that is why people see him as villainous. That's why people see him as a terrorist. That's why people vilify him, because he's not sacrificing his vision or his thoughts. He believes what he believes is right. And And I don't know. I find that fascinating. I don't know what do you guys think?
It's definitely fascinating. And there are things that happen that we know that we can't say yet. So let's just say this is the beginning of a very interesting setup as we get towards the end of the story. And it's just like, not looking ahead, staying with what we've been given so far in the anime of Attack on Titan. Eren is one of the most fascinating characters I've seen in a long time, maybe ever, because you start off with season 1, right? Let's go back to that time period of like, he seems like he's a normal child, and then his life gets ripped away from him, and he has this drive now to kill these Titans. But like using this flashback, and it's like, no, Eren had some opinions at 7 years old.
Yeah,
it's just
from
like,
the get-go.
That also changed your perspective from the beginning of this story. And it's like Attack on Titan does that week after week, season after season, where you basically have to reassess all 78 other episodes up until this point, and you probably walk away with something different. And I just think that is so fascinating how multidimensional and layered this series is, and how Eren is as a character, to where Perp mentioned it in the comments earlier, saying that it makes you look at Grisha in a different light. It's like, we thought we knew what was up with Grisha Yeager, and it turns out maybe that wasn't true. Maybe that wasn't the case. And it's not like they're just withholding information or lying to the audience. It's purposely set up and pay off. And next week's episode is going to pay off in a big way.
And also, and I love that because they are taking their time to pay off, and I kind of like the fact that they're slowing it down in these moments, and probably as the action comes back and increases, because we know that there's a lot of action ahead. I like the fact that the idea that that's going to be swift and exact, but they're taking their time here, because I think we needed this. We needed this slow down, and we did need this exposition to really get behind of the characters that are going to be in the forefront in the next coming episodes. So I'm glad that this is happening. For
sure. I just wanted to pull this comment up because it's true. Yeah. Like,
yeah. And it's funny, Perp, you say that and you have no idea. But yeah, Isaac, did you catch anything in particular that blew your mind in this episode, or anything that was revealed?
First and foremost, I need to ask you one thing before I answer yours.
Okay.
Do you know what you call? Yeah. Do you know what you call a Titan who can't swim?
Don't know.
Titanic.
Oh my god.
Can we put Isaac in like a timeout for like the next 5 minutes?
I mean, I think he does it to himself. I think he desires to be timed out.
In all
Isaac,
seriousness, though.
Yeah.
Yes, you're pretty much on point with the whole chapter. That it clearly shows that there is more to Mitai and Eren Yeager than you would think it was back in season 1.
Yeah,
so to speak, and it's. I mean, this is twists and turns done right in my book. There is, I don't know if you have followed, I can't recall what he's calling it, but
what is this? Why?
It's true.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But anyway, I don't know if you guys have heard of Bennett's Sage, Anime Abandon.
Yeah.
He has coined a term called final act syndrome, where something comes out of the blue and just this isn't how this show should have in terms of an ending, which could you could indicate for a when it comes to a twist and turn. And this series, when it comes to, at least so far, we don't know if it's going to end, how it's going to end, considering, well, anime ending, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But so far, it doesn't feel like a final act syndrome where it derails off the grid. It feels and flows naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said and Pert's comment here of talking about how people stopped after 1 or 2 seasons and like they kind of missed the deeper themes because they didn't follow it through. It's something that Brandon's been saying ever since we started these reviews, right? And I know this is only episode 2 or 3 that we've done, but it's something that you've been saying a lot in the sense that of every season of Attack on Titan is basically a different genre, right?
Yeah.
And so the flow of the story is constantly changing, but also it doesn't allow them to get in like a rut. And so
yes.
It's flowing naturally. And so it's like when you think about it, this is the logical conclusion of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And anime onlys are experiencing that in a completely different way than manga readers did. Because like you said last week, Brandon, of like, and even today, cliffhangers are different. You don't have to wait a month to figure out how the story is going to end.
Yep.
The pacing is different. That all plays a factor. And that's why it's like you've been saying, the anime is elevating the source material. And that's impressive because the Attack on Titan source material is already pretty damn good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think it's really fascinating how, so again, we've been talking about how you need to do like multiple watches to try and piece it all together and fully understand what's happening. In this episode, like you were saying, you didn't get a chance to watch, you wanted to watch it more than once before we went live. It's true because I feel like I'd see something completely different from this episode just off a second viewing, let alone reacting to it after our first watch.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a lot like happening in between. And I think it's safe to say that it's time as we continue the conversation, because we also want to talk about the big reveals, right? Is that let's talk about the revelations when it comes to the Attack Titan, right? And the idea that it's one of, and I love the fact that what they're saying, like what Grisha calls that every Titan has a special trait, right? Has a very special quirk or nuance, right? That separates them from all the other Titans, which is not just the name, but there's something in particular, right? And it's the whole thing with him. It's something that with every episode that we've seen, we know that what he's talking about, it's something that has been nuanced. It has precedent. It's not something that he's just quote unquote pulling out of his ass. You know what I mean? Like it is something that has precedent, and the idea, which is one of those things, like they've been setting up this kind of reveal in so many different, very small ways. And the beautiful thing about what about the whole thing about the show envelops and becomes different genres is that not only does it become a different things, different genres, and explores different types of topics as the seasons and the arcs go on, you can tell that it was orchestrated that way. You can tell that this is not something that, oh, we're just going to do this different now. No, it was set up that way. And it's funny because as we go towards the end, we kind of see everything going like, holy shit, he's been thinking about this since episode 1. Oh shit, he's been thinking about this since then. And now it goes to the idea of, so the traits of the Attack Titan, we know they're super strong, whatever, but he talks about the idea of the Attack Titan's ability of being able to know the future of future users. And the interesting thing is that we've seen this happen once already. Do you guys remember when?
Tell me.
Can't
Do you know, Isaac?
recall either.
So Aaron Kruger, when he's talking to Grisha, he says, "Do it for Eldia, do it for us, for Mikasa, for Armin." And then Grisha goes, "Who's Mikasa and Armin?" And he goes, "I don't know."
Oh yeah, that was the end of last season or season 3. Yeah, I remember. It was one of the
Yes,
finales. Yeah.
correct. And it's the whole thing of it is something that was set up. They're not
Right.
pulling it out of nowhere. And but here's the biggest thing though, which is to me is the most fascinating thing, is that the idea that not only can the Attack Titan see the future of its users, is ooh, yes, those are yes, that's the word. Perp minded grabbed it. That's the one quote I missed. Those aren't my memories. Yeah. And interestingly enough, it's not just the memories, because we know that other Titans, other Titan wielders can see the past of the previous user, because you know that Armin talks about how he feels Berthold, right? And
Mhm.
a lot of people assume or interpret that the reason he talks to Annie is because Berthold was in love with Annie, not because Armin is in love with Annie. Which is neither here or there, but interesting. But the idea that Eren's will is so powerful and definitive and clear that he's able to affect the history of the Attack Titan. Oh my god, this is getting out of control, guys.
You know, you say that, Brandon, and it's just crazy to me because like you mentioned this a little while ago, but like how long has Eren had to deal with this, right? Deal with these memories, right? Or
Mhm.
even affecting past events, future events,
Yep.
knowing what like has it been since the end of season 4 part 1, season 3? It's just crazy to me because again it makes you like, wait, what burden has Eren had on him this entire time in this story? And it blows my mind every time I think about it. And it's like Perp is right with how does one person come up with something like this, right? It's just insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I find also fascinating is the idea that when you see Aaron's character and Aaron's anger or whatever, is that we underestimate the whole thing with we think us thinking that we underestimate the idea of, oh, it's just time travel. It's not time travel. It's the idea that whenever Aaron was born, right? Aaron was born, and this is me trying to understand it, right? So I'm just gonna throw this out there. Yeah, right. You gotta stay. Don't kiss people's hands. I don't know why perp. That sounds kind of dirty.
You know, in the post COVID world, that
Yes.
just gives me mad PTSD now.
Yeah. Um, but one of those things that like I'm trying to understand, like, of course, no one can decipher the whole thing that happens, but I'm gonna try. So if we're gonna talk about time travel, it's not. I wouldn't say. I wrote out what I will call what Eren has, or what the Attack Titan has. The Attack Titan doesn't have time travel abilities. It doesn't have that. I call it a. I wrote it down here somewhere because I called it a chrono self omniscience. Like it's able to understand its own history. It can't control the history of others, but it's able to understand its own history. Because this is not about Eren, it's about the Attack Titan. And the idea that its self-righteous spirit or ability to stand against the founder and all that stuff is that it is the ability of holding on to its own will and being able to influence others. And I think it comes down to whoever's whatever wielder's will is stronger will be able to affect the others. And throughout the whole series, there's no other. We only have known of two attack Titan wielders. That actually have a strong enough will to bring others to their knees or to their susception, I would say. And those are Eren Kruger and Yeager, because Grisha was at the mercy of both of them to a degree, which is probably why Eren was able to manipulate the events once he was born, or once he, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because we can't say that Eren was predestined to be the attack Titan wielder, because one of the things that we've learned on the show is that anybody's up for grabs. Anybody can die, right? And kind of, I want to say that one could mistake it as plot armor. That's the reason why Eren was chosen or couldn't die. But what I love about the show is that they've put into action and they've shown Eren to be this willful person and make these willful decisions on his own. That I'm convinced that's why. That it wasn't like a predestination thing. You know what I mean? Because I think calling it something like predestination is an oversimplification.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not like pure time travel, which is a good point that you brought up there. It's tied directly to that power, and it's just really interesting to see how it plays out, because Grisha already knows how this is going to play out.
Yep.
And it's crazy because like we've been referencing Avengers Endgame throughout this episode, but it's like it was real. Grisha and Eren are pretty much Doctor Strange at this point, right? They see the future. It's just, will Eren make that happen? Will Zeke let him bring that future to fruition? And for lack of a better phrase, we are in the end game now.
Yeah. And I think the biggest power move that happened, I love that the biggest power move that Eren could ever make occurs very quietly. Did you guys catch it?
Isaac, did you catch it?
I mean, he had the power move when he talked about to his dad indirectly and tell him why he should kill them all. But I guess that's not what you're thinking about.
So here's the thing. So when that happened, Eren's already in control.
Yep.
So the whole thing is, so who is the one that approaches who to start this wandering of memories? Zeke, right?
Zeke, yeah.
Zeke starts the interaction.
Yeah, like halfway through, all of a sudden, you notice Eren's the one in control here.
No, and it happens very subtly, because throughout the process, Eren is following Zeke or whatever, and you can actually hear the actual words where he says, let's go to the next memory. Let's go to the next memory. But there's just one moment where Eren says, Zeke, let's go. And Zeke starts taking control. I mean, Eren starts taking control. And I don't know if you guys caught it. I was going to try and see if I can find the exact scene so I can show you. Yes.
Not in the live stream. No. That would be copyrighted to oblivion.
So, but yeah, I'm not going to put it on there, but there's this scene where we're visiting the memory of Grisha telling Eren that he's going to show him the basement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys catch Grisha's face at the door? Where you have that, you actually have a zoom into the key, right?
Yeah.
And when you zoom out, Grisha is scared shitless because he's looking at Eren face to face, all grown up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we didn't have the crazy CG battles this episode.
Yeah.
But it's just like those moments are the ones those are the ones that stick with me personally. I don't know about you guys, but it's like the horror on his face,
Yep.
like the pain that he felt this entire episode, it's just like insane. We thought Eren and Zeke were traumatized by Grisha,
The other way
but
around.
we had a little Uno reverse card in this episode.
Yeah.
It's like it's Grisha who's being haunted by his sons, which is just wild.
No, but I go even further. Zeke and Grisha are convinced, or at least Zeke is convinced, that Eren is traumatized by his brother, by his father.
Yeah.
When Eren is the one calling the things how they are. I see a man that's tainted by a father that did whatever, right? Like he calls Zeke out. Like you're doing something because of what they did to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Eren sees, because of course, even up to this point, if we have to, the only way we can try to understand we can't really understand Eren's endgame yet because Eren hasn't really talked about his vision, right? He's just been acting. He's just been executing, right? And the only glimpse that we have is the conversation that he had in part 1 of the last season with Armin and Mikasa, right? Where he talks about what he quote unquote really thought about them, what he quote unquote felt about them. But going back to the idea of freedom and how it's explored here, and how it's explored through Eren, which I love, is the fact that the one thing that stands out to me of that conversation is the fact that he gives them a choice. And that's what Eren's about. Eren is all about that. He's fighting not just for his freedom. He's fighting for the freedom of his people. He's not going to allow his brother to take everybody's freedom away. You know what I mean? And I like the idea that from the beginning, even when he was a kid, that was what he was about. He was born in a place where he feels enslaved. He was born in a place where everything's limited or whatever, right? And he wants to be free to explore. He wants to be free to learn. He wants to be free to love, to fight. And it makes me also think that the whole thing with the Attack Titan and how he's a righteous spirit or whatever they call it, it's all about him being the embodiment of a desire of Eldia to be free, right? And because even the king of the walls, the way, especially when you see the conversation with Frida Reese, she talks like someone like they deserve slavery, you know? Mm-hmm. And even though I know for a fact that there's history of Eldians and like a lot of them made mistakes or a lot of them were tyrants or whatever, right? It's the whole thing of Eren not caring about the past and caring that we should be able to choose who we're going to be. And I don't know. Those are the kind of arguments that I like that I see here little by little. And even then, like you guys say that he made Grisha do something, but if you understand the dialogue, the clues were all there. Yeah. If you think about the whole thing with the conversation with Grisha, think about this. He didn't tell his dad. I don't think he tells his dad to kill him. He just goes to his dad and says, "Remember why you're here. Think about what happened. Don't forget. Like you had a reason to do this." So I would even say, even then, he's trying to allow his father to execute his freedom. Because when you think about it, what he did was not follow Eren's command. He just allowed himself to be engulfed by his own rage because of his own story. And I'm going to shut up now.
Playing devil's advocate there, though, like Eren didn't technically force him to do it, but it's heavily implied that Eren is kind of nudging him in that direction.
Yeah. But Eren understands that he's not able to move his hand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He understands that all he has is an argument. And I think that's the whole thing. Like, because think about it. The whole thing is that if Zeke executes his plan, nobody can say anything about it. It's going to happen, period. You know what I mean? And I think that's what pisses Eren the most. It's not the fact that people won't be able to have babies. is that people won't have a say in the matter, which is
I
what
mean-
infuriates him. Apart from the fact the stuff that he hates or whatever, right?
I mean, Zeke is literally just going to have this entire group of people go extinct in like the
Mhm.
next 80 years or whatever it's going to
Yeah.
take. And yeah, like that's a pretty effed up plan when you think
Yeah.
about it. It's like
Yeah.
that's how you're going to solve this. It when you think of Zeke's ideology there, it's kind of very flawed. We'll put it that way.
Mhm.
Because say he does the euthanization plan, they are still going to be at war.
They're
You
still
know?
going to be captive in Liberio.
Yeah, it's like they'll just die out and then they
Yeah.
won't reproduce. But it's like
Yeah.
it's not like they're going to get a life of peace if they
Correct.
go with his plan. So
Correct.
it's only really going to help their enemy, which is another thing that Eren is probably really pissed about.
Yeah. Because it all goes back to the end of season 3. Hey, if we kill our enemy over there, will we finally be free?
Mm-hmm.
Because to think that and you got to think about, there's a lot of people that feel that way. There's a lot of people feel, yeah, it is counterproductive, perp. There's a lot of people that feel that way, which is why I'm not going to say that I'm Eren, and I'm not going to be Eren because that's not what I'm trying to do.
Jeez.
But yeah, right. But I understand, I understand what's driving him, which is why I love the character and I love the show, because it's allowing us to go. It's allowed us to go into his psyche a lot more, especially this season, and to understand why he does it, and also to think he understands also, and I love how smart Eren has become also, because you got to think about one of the reasons why he's deciding to be the monster. Like if we go back to the beginning of season part 1, right, when he's having that conversation with Reiner and Liberio, right, is he says it is my turn to be the monster, right? And it's because he understands that those that win write the history. Those that win determine what's going to happen. So, and he understands that he has to do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
And we're back to Endgame. That was good. I don't know, guys. This episode was just, I just can't wait. Next episode's just going to be something else.
These, we say this about every episode of Attack on Titan because they're all just bangers.
Yep.
But this run of last week, this week, next week, the anime onlys ain't ready.
No.
It's insane. It's
No.
gonna be insane until we get to the end game here.
Yeah.
But it's just dude.
The perp just low key cite Batman.
Yeah.
You either become the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I cannot. You imagine Isayama in college watching The Dark Knight and going, "Wait a minute,
I can do that."
I can
Yeah,
do that."
he just watched a bunch of Christopher Nolan films. That's really what's happening here.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Inspired by Nolan. But yeah, man. I mean, this show is great. I love everything. Isaac, do you have anything else to add to the madness that is Attack on Titan?
No, not really. You have pretty much said what I've been thinking and all. So,
Mike, you got anything else?
Not for this week. I just can't wait for next week.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff that was in the preview. I mean, the big
I still didn't
thing
watch the preview.
No, that's fine. We see a Titan that we've never seen before. That's all I'm going to say. But the best thing about it is the title of next week's episode is "To You 2,000 Years From Now," which is the name of the first episode of the show, which is very interesting.
Yeah, the first episode was "To You from 2,000 Years," and this episode is "From You," I believe, 2,000 years, which is crazy. That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't going any deeper than that. Just make sure you guys are back here next week with us to discuss episode.
Yeah, there's like yes. Okay, guys, those are our thoughts. I mean, we love this episode. You can tell. It was a phenomenal episode. There's a lot that was discussed, a lot that happened. Not to be surprised, but Eren has turned the tables yet again. And of course, we can't forget Eren right now is just the head in Zeke's hands. So I think we need to let everyone sing that in.
Dude, I completely forgot about that. Oh
Yeah,
my God. His
yeah,
head was cut off.
Yeah. You know what? Can we talk about that before we finish? What we saw in 20 minutes is taking place. Years are going by because the whole thing about the pathways is that everything happens, and I think it showed it in the. You know how in between commercials, you have these informative videos or shots, right?
Yeah, the title card things.
Yeah, it tells you. Which, by the way, I love the fact that they were a thing from the start and they never went away.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. For those lore people, they talk about how that everything that happens in the pathways happens in an instant and it can go on for an eternity. So
you're seeing everything at once, essentially.
Right, but but you have the capacity to understand it.
Yeah,
it's not like Lucy where she's getting everything from everywhere and she feels like her heart's about to explode. Here, it's just a stroll down the beach. So, guys, thank you for joining us. We had such a blast talking about this. We do every week. Let's say our goodbye, guys, and head out. Isak Wolff, where can we find you, my brother?
Well, you can find me over at on Twitter at Emblemaniac, and you can find my work over at Webam Entertainment. Tomorrow, we have a scheduled episode about My Hero Academia theories as a something we want to give to fill in the spot of this week's break of My Hero Academia. It was filled with a lot of dad jokes galore and some weird doomsday predictions. That's all I'm gonna say.
But we forgot the awkward conversation where we talked about whether Aizawa has sex or not. That was a conversation that was had.
What? What? What are you?
Yeah, you check it out tomorrow on the Amateur Talk.
That is crazy. That is crazy. That is so bad. Mike, where can we find you?
You can find me at Novice Cinephile on Twitter and my blog, novicecinephile.com. Of course, I'm also writing for Collider. And here on YouTube, you can check me out at Novice Cinephile. This week, it's a light week. I'm reacting to Fooly Cooly Progressive. That video comes out on Tuesday. So make sure you guys check that out. If you need to catch up on my other reactions to the original Fooly Cooly series, those are in a playlist on my channel as well. And yeah, we're going to be back with My Hero Academia and My Hero Vigilantes next week once the break is over. And we'll be covering that here at the Amateur Otaku. And check out Geekly Goods. That's our friend Leo Rydell's channel. We are going to be doing
Leo?
We're going to be doing an episode of the Otakuverse. We're covering all of the Ghibli movies.
Nice. And you can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter and at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Instagram. We'll see you next time, guys. Have it awesome. Peace.